Welcome back to Right Fashion Academy YouTube channel for another interesting tutorial. In this tutorial, I'll be teaching you how to sew this beautiful flayed gown with Asoke drapes and side pockets. I'll be sharing with you the tips and tricks to making this beautiful dress the way it is right here. This is what I got right here. You can see my pockets, you can see my sleeves sitting right very appropriately. And this is the back piece. Here is the front piece as well. If this is what you want to learn in this class, I will encourage you to stay till the end of this tutorial to learn how this beautiful gown is made. Thank you. My fabric is Ankara and I used only 2.5 yards of Ankara fabric. The Asoke I'm using here is just one roll. So you are using just one roll of Asoke fabric. So Asoke comes in rows of 8. So what you need here is just one of it. And this is my Ankara fabric. I'll just use 2.5 yards. If you're on a plus size, you'll be using 3 yards of Ankara fabric. Okay, so I just tried managing this fabric, so I'll be able to use 2.5 yards to make this dress, and it actually worked. So now I'm going to open up my fabric, as you can see right here. Here you can see I'm taking the measurement of 2.5 yards from the main Ankara fabric. So this is 1 yard. 1 yard is 36. I went ahead to measure another 1 yard, making it 2 yards of 36, then half a yard of 18. Then I'll put a scissors on it and tear it down. This is me trying to cut out the 2.5 yards of Ankara fabric from my main fabric. Here is the 45 inches length, and this is 2.5 inches length of Ankara I just cut out. So you are going to put it together like this. That is the first thing you will do. You put the 2.5 yards on fold, making sure it's actually on fold. At the edge of the fabric, just mark 1 inch for your zip allowance, as you see me do right here. After placing the 2.5 yards on fold, I'm going to rule down this line. This is my zip allowance of 1 inch. Then I'll place my hand, my finger at the tip, as you see me do, and create a triangle. So if you create a triangle along that zipper line, you will notice that the whole length is going to be equal. Next, we are going to calculate the radius using your waist circumference. So the waist circumference I'm working with is 34 plus 4 inches side seam allowances. Adding 34 and 4 inches together will give me 38 inches. So since we are cutting half a circle, I'll use 3.14 to divide it, giving me 12 inches as the radius. 3.14 is a constant, okay, for cutting half a circle. Now I'll place my tape and mark 12 inches. So from the tip, I'm going to mark the radius at 12 inches this way. I'll take it all the way down. After marking out the radius, I just tried placing my tape at the center front, that is the folded part, to see whether I will have 38 divided by 4. So here I have 9.5, which is 38 divided by 4. So that means you are correct. For the length of the skirt, just place your waistline. My waistline is 17 inches. Just your shoulder to your waist is 17. So I'll just place 17. Whatever your waist, shoulder to waist is, that is what you are going to place on the radius line. Then you take your actual length. For me, I use 45 inches as my length. You can make it shorter, you can make it longer as you desire, but 45 is good and fine for this dress. Next, I'm going to cut out the radius. So you just go ahead and cut out the radius. Then we are going to cut the length. After that, you go ahead and open up the sides. Remember, we have 2 side pockets. So I will just cut all the way from the waistline to the hemline. You just separate that part. After that is done, next we are going to mark out the pocket spacing. On the side of the skirt, here you can see I have 4 pieces. I'll go ahead and measure 2 inches downwards from the waistline, then measure 7 inches as the pocket spacing. I'll go ahead and make notches this way. You make notches on the pocket spacing so it will be easy for you to stitch. Then make notch at the zipper point too. Now we are going to keep this part and use the remaining part that we cut out for the upper part. It's time to drap the upper part. So you place your tape on the shoulder and mark your chest line, bust point, under bust, and then your waistline. So if you want a bust here, follow me. But if you want it that less, no problem. You don't need the bust point, under bust, and all that. But I like to make my dresses with bustiers for those that has a big bust. So it sits and relaxes very well for them. So here I am going to have marked out my lines. Next, you mark your shoulder, divide by 2. We are also going to mark it on the chest line. Then we are going to mark a straight line to connect it. Next, place your tape on the shoulder and mark 5 inches. 5 inches is how off I want to off this dress. So the 5 inches is the neckline. We are not using the upper part. Of course, you can see we have a sleeve there. Next is to label your chest line, bust point, under bust, and waistline for clarity. This is the center front line. On your chest line, you are going to mark your bust circumference, divide by 4. And on the waistline, we are going to mark our waist circumference, divide by 4 also. The bust point, you mark your nipple to nipple measurement, divide by 2, or your bust span, divide by 2, and rule a straight line across. My dart intake is 1.5 inches in total. I shared it 0.75, 0.75 as you can see. Next, I'm going to replace what I have on the dart on the side of the waistline, the 1.5. Then I connected the side. On the neckline, I'll mark 3 inches, then come down by 1 inch. This is just to connect a slant line, but we are not using it. We'll only use it for the sleeve. Then get the midpoint and connect it to the bust point. This will help us on the over bust dart. So I'm going to share 0.75, 0.75 on the over bust, making it a total of 1.5 inches. Then I connected. I'll replace this dart on the armhole part. So you extend your line on that 5 inches and mark 1.5. Then connect your armhole accordingly. On the side from the bust point, you mark 2 inches, which is the difference between your front and back. Then you connect them accordingly. Get the midpoint of the 2 inches and reconnect to the chest line. So bust dart difference is usually 2 inches or 1 inch at most. On the under bust line, you mark your under bust circumference, divide by 4. Whatever you have left, you put 0.25 in front and the rest by the side. I'll use that to contour the under bust. So you can just go ahead and make use of any under bust technique that works perfectly for you. Okay, so this works very, very perfectly for me. So I connected it back to the dart leg as shown. On the neckline, you place your tape at the center front and measure half of your strap to strap measurement, which is usually 11 inches. So half of 11 is 5.5. I skipped that dart of 1.5 to get my 5.5 inches, as you can see. Then I reconnected the armhole. So we are not using the other armhole over there. So if you don't understand this strap to strap stuff, it's just very easy. Measure 5.5 inches. It works for everybody. If you're on a plus size, you can measure 6 inches. I'm trying to extend my lines. These lines are for the back dress. So I will just come up by 2 inches because of the bust dart technique. Here is the center back. Right now, I'm going to measure my shoulder, divide by 2 on the shoulder, on the chest line. Next, you go ahead and connect it with a straight line. On your waistline, you mark your waist, divide by 4. This is the chest line and this is the waistline. The chest line, you mark your bust circumference, divide by 4. Now we are going to contour the back because it has a zip with 1 inch. I'll connect it all the way to the tip of the neckline this way. So I'll cut off the contour line and replace the 1 inch on the side as shown, and also replace on the chest line as you can see. This particular back piece is dartless. It does not have any dart attached to it. Now I'm going to mark my strap to strap measurement from that zip line. You mark 5.5 plus half an inch. For the back, just add 1 more inch because the back is longer. So I marked 6 inches and connected it all the way to the side, as you can see. So the back piece is ready right now. Like I said, the back is that length, so you can just make a little curve of your neckline at the back this way. So you can see how I place my ruler just to make a little twist or shape instead of making the back neckline straight. Here is F1, F2, and this is the back piece. This is a sleeveless dress almost. I will come up by 1 inch and recreate my new armhole. I always do this for sleeveless dress if you have been following my tutorial. So instead of the actual chest line, just come up so the armhole will not be too much exposed. So I came up with 1 inch and reconnected my armhole. So we are not using the former armhole again. Make sure you close up the sides before you do this, then reconnect your armhole like this. Now we can go ahead and cut out the pattern pieces this way. I'll cut out the zipper line, as you can see. So the back piece is ready. Thread the strap carrying the sleeve. From that point, measure 1 inch inwards. Then we are going to mark a straight line to connect the sleeve and connect the 1 inch. Then you put an arrow to determine the shoulder part. Of course, we are going to place that part on fold. So measure the length, the highest length you have there. I have 4.5 inches. Okay, so 4.5 inches is going to be my strap length for the front. Just take note of it. So I'll just go ahead and cut out the strap this way. Okay, of course we are not going to make use of it anyway, but it has just guided us to the actual length of our strap. So I'll now go ahead to cut the front piece as shown. I'm going to cut out through the overbust dart, as you can see. Then I'm going to cut out the other side of the dart. So if you're making yours dartless, you don't need all of this. But like I said, I like to make my dresses with bustiers. So I've closed up my bust dart, as you can see. Now the front piece is ready, the back piece is ready. This is the strap, and we are going to cut them on fabric accordingly. These are all the pattern pieces I have right here. So I'll just go ahead and bring back the pieces I cut out from the flay. So that was why I cut the flay first. So I will have some pieces to create this bustier. So if you're making yours dartless, you need 3 yards definitely, because this part will not be able to make a dartless front and back. Here I'm placing my pattern. You can see how I'm placing it. I'm going to add my zip allowance and my seam allowances accordingly. After adding the seam allowances, on the side I added 2 inches and I added half an inch all around. Then the zipper line I added 1.5 inches. You can also make the zip 1 inch. So I'm going to also place this fabric again for the front piece. Here I am adding my seam allowances as shown. After cutting the side front and adding half an inch to join the center front, for the center front I brought back the parts I cut on the radius because it has a fold. Okay, so you have to fold it so you'll be able to, it will be enough for you. That's what I mean. Remember, we are managing 2.5 years. I don't want to waste fabric here, so that's why I'm trying to utilize the 2.5. So I added half an inch all around while I have my center front on fold. After cutting the pieces, this is what we got. So we are going to use these remaining pieces for the pocket, for the sleeve, and for the strap. I am going to take off my patterns right now. For this tutorial, I'm not padding anything. If you want to pad, please just go ahead and pad. I'm making this for tutorial purpose. So you can see my lining, I cut it together with the fabric. So I'll go ahead and join my bustier now. Here I've joined my bustier. You can see what it looks like. So if you pad and use your hairstay, it will give you a better firm or a better hold, but that is okay. For this strap, I just folded my fabric the first time and then folded it again. So the width of this my fold is 1.5 inch. Make sure you secure with your pin. Next we are going to measure, so it's 1.5 inches on fold as the width. Now we are going to measure 9 inches. Remember, we had 4.5 inches on the strap we calculated when we were drafting. So I'll place my tape and I'll measure 10 inches. Just add 1 inch to your 9 inches for seaming the sleeve. I believe you understand. So this is how it's going to look like, the strap, before we add the sleeve. To cut the sleeve, you need your basic sleeve. If you don't know how to draft a basic sleeve, I'll drop the link on how to draft it on the description box below. Next, you place your fabric on fold this way, making sure you place the cap. You can see the cap height. So I'll place the cap height, and I added 1 inch below the cap height. So this is the 1 inch I added where I'm chalking right now. So I'll add half inch, half an inch like that. But on the grain line, just measure 2 inches upwards. That is if you want that puff, if you want it to go up the way it is. So after marking the 2 inches upwards, I'll just go ahead and cut out my sleeve following the chalk lines this way. I believe you understand. Then you make a notch at the sleeve grain line. I'm going to use this is just for one sleeve, so I'll just gather it this way. Okay, so I will use this now, place my fabric on fold again and cut the second one. Here is the second sleeve. I'm done cutting it out right now. Next, make a notch at the sleeve grain line and then hem the down part. After hemming, this is what I got. I also placed gather stitches on top of the sleeve grain line. So by the time we join the strap, this is what we are going to have. So next, you just go ahead and gather what you have. I'm gathering it to the sleeve grain on one side. I'll also gather on the other side, so you be able to have an even gathers. So this is the strap. You put it together and place a notch at the center like this. Now we are going to place the gathered parts on the sleeve grain line where you notched. You place it and secure with your pin like this. I'll go ahead to stitch in. After stitching, this is what we got. So you can see I left 1.5 inches. Okay, if you don't want this sleeve to be too big on the sleeve area, if you're on a small size, just cut out. If your arm is small, cut out 1.5 inches like I did. But if it's big, you can cut out 1 inch. Okay. So here is my sleeve. I've prepared it, as you can see. I'm going to fix this sleeve now. So you first of all mark half an inch for seaming the armhole. You mark another half an inch the other way. So you are going to place your sleeve this way. You place it right side to right side, okay? Making sure you place it accurately this way. Now make sure you give that gap of half an inch for stitching. So you can just make a little gathering of it and then stitch on the sleeve. After stitching the sleeve to the main bodice, you place your lining on it and stitch it. Don't forget to top stitch. After top stitching, this is what I have. Next, we are going to turn the dress right side to right side because I want to stitch close the armhole. Make sure you tuck in the sleeve very well. Then we are going to stitch half an inch on that part like this. Then we stitch half an inch on the side this way. We'll do the same on the other side. After stitching, don't forget to make your notches on the curvy part of the armhole. Then you turn it to the right side. This is what I got after turning it to the right side. You can just use your tailor's hand and iron the bustier very well. Next, we are going to sew the back piece. For the back piece, you also measure out half an inch. That will be for the armhole stitches. Then we are going to place the sleeve like this, right side to right side, just from that point. Then you tuck it in a little bit and stitch. After stitching, you also make notches on the armhole before you turn it to the right side. So this is me turning after making my notches on the armhole like I did for the front. Next, we are going to set the upper part aside. Now we are going to sew the pocket before the draping. The pocket, I went ahead to place my fabric on fold this way. The length of your pocket is 10 inches and the width of the pocket is 9 inches. So I'm going to measure 7 inches pocket opening on the folded part, measure 1.5 inches inwards. Then I'm going to create my pocket within that 8 inches width. So this pocket I'm making is just only for one. I'll place this pocket on another fabric and cut out the other side. The pocket is supposed to be 4 pieces. And I'm going to mark their wrong side, so it will be very easy for us to stitch the pocket on the flayed parts. So here I'm going to place right side to right side of each of the pockets on the sides of the flay, then I'll stitch them. After stitching, this is what I got right here. So you just put it together, get the midpoint of the skirt. So at this point, if you want to create a lining, please just cut the same thing you cut for the main fabric. Stitch them together before you stitch your pocket. I believe you understand. So I'm not using any lining for this. Of course, I don't know if a lining was used for the main dress. So here I am adding the upper piece together. This is what I got after I'm done. It's time for us to drape, which is the main purpose of this tutorial. So these are my tailor's hem I made homemade. Okay, I'll also drop the link on how to make it if you want. Just put it on the bust as if you are wearing the dress, or you can use pieces of fabric just to lift up that part. You actually need to lift that part up because it's a bustier dress. It's not that less. Okay, so the Asoke is supposed to take exactly the shape. So this is the draping now. You make sure you align the neckline first. Then on the side, you push out the Asoke a little outwards, as you see me do right here. Align it very, very well low, or else if you wear it, it will not relax on the bust area if you are using this method of bustier. So I will keep aligning as you see. So I'll just take my time here, no rush, because this is the main purpose of this tutorial. On the neckline, I kept pinning till I get to the other strap, while I still might have my tailor's hem below. After pinning the neckline, you can see what we have. So you make sure it takes the shape. Then next, we are going to fold. So we are folding the other side the way you see it on the picture. So what I did is I made sure my pin stopped at the first strap. Next, you are going to fold it this way. Make sure you fold it the way I'm folding. Then you make a triangle with it using this other edge. So make sure the other edge is lying very well. So just follow this tutorial, you get it right. So you can see I'm placing it right on the tailor's hem just to take that shape. If you don't do that, that part will be flat and your bust will not be able to enter. So you can see I'm just taking the shape of the bustier. I like to use this bustier method, honestly, so your dress relaxes very well for you. Okay, for people for big bust, so they can also benefit from this tutorial. So here I am aligning. So you keep pinning the way you see me keep pinning it, making sure the shape of the bust is what you are pinning with on the Asoke. So you can see you really need to calm down on this part, so you'll be sure you place this very well. So I kept placing it very, very well on the down part so it relaxes nice and flat. Then I started to pin. You can see my pinning method. I'm pinning in a way I can just stitch on top of the pin once I get to the machine. If you look at the original dress, you can see the Asoke did not go straight. It was a little bit slanted with the side of the skirt piece. So I have to take off some of my pins right here from the bustier angle just to slant the Asoke to have that slanted shape from the under bust area to the side of the dress. So I kept pinning like this. So what I did was, the Asoke did not get to the down part of the dress. You can see it was just flying up and down from the hip line. So to get that length, we'll just go ahead and measure from the waistline. You can measure 10 or 12 inches to determine the length. But meanwhile, let us just cut the excess. So it will be very easy for us to take the measurements accordingly. After cutting out and pinning to the part I want it to fly, I took off my tailor's ham, as you can see. So the bustier area, make sure no part is rumpling. No part should rumple. You should have that curve so your bust can enter in there. So if you notice any part that is squeezing, just loosen it out now as you see me do. So right here on the machine, I'll just go ahead and stitch the Asoke on top of the neckline. I'll run my stitches, as you can see, all the way down. This is me running the Asoke stitches on the neckline. So once I got to that strap, I'm going to turn my presser foot this way. At this point, remember you created a bustier. It's not straight too, so just be opening that part up. You know how to stitch bustier, so there will not be any squeezing on the inside. So once you got to this point, you can see me lifting the bust area up. Please make sure you do that. I'll raise my presser foot again, and I'm going to sew all the way to the waistline. To determine where your stitches will stop, place your tape on the waistline like this and measure 10 or 12 inches. So I just stopped at 10 inches. Okay, depends on how much you want this to fly. Okay, so I stopped at 10 inches. Now I will also sew from the strap again all the way down. As you are sewing, also remember you are sewing a bustier. So make sure you follow the bustier shape. Lift it up and make sure your cup is still there and is not squeezing. I'll also sew all the way down. I'll also stop at that 10 inches I stopped from the waistline. Then I'll backstitch accordingly. After stitching, this is what I got. As you can see, so everything is taking the shape and the inside is also curving very appropriately. So we'll take it to the table right now. But before that, don't forget the armhole part has to be stitched as well, and you stitch it together with the side too. So this is me stitching the armhole part, and I'll also stitch it down this way. After that is done, the next we are going to do is to cut the shape of the Asoke following the shape like this. Then you take off your pins. This is what I got after I'm done. So you can see the bustier is still there for us. Next, I'm going to sew the back piece. So if you are using lining, like I said, your lining has to be stitched together with the fabric first before adding your pockets. Now I'm going to sew the waistline together. Here I am done stitching the front and I am done stitching the back. We are going to put the dress together right side to right side. I will stitch close the sides into the pocket this way. We have gradually come to the end of this tutorial. Next is to sew in my zip. Of course, you know how to sew your zip. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one. Bye.